This is Jay Larson with the Idaho Technology Council. Thank you for joining us to Innovation Matters today, which is the 15th of October, 2020. The thought of the day is every artist was once an amateur. It was said by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and I think it kind of points to the idea that everybody needs to go through the opportunity to evolve and to be able to learn and have an opportunity to be able to see new vistas because of the things that are experiencing. And I think that's something that is the beauty of what we get every day when we wake up, and the opportunity to learn something new and apply it. And I think that's the key in most of the things I see in my life is the application that takes place to the things you learn. Without that, learning does not have the connecting points that it needs to. But here's the point. We have today, because we're going to be talking about talent, with us Duree Westover, who's the managing principal at Experis. And Duree's been a big part of the Idaho Technology Council over the years. And Duree, welcome. We're so glad you're back with us.
Thank you, Jay. Excited to be back. It's been a few months. Have things changed?
Well, I think the last time you were with us, Duree, you were up in Sun Valley, and you guys got quarantined there, didn't you? Because when everything really hit, where at one point Sun Valley and Ketchum was one of the hottest places with respect to COVID-19, and you were caught in the middle of that, right?
That's right. I came up here for spring break, meeting my daughter here on the 13th of March. And by that following Monday, it was in lockdown. So not a bad place to be locked down in Sun Valley, though. So
yeah, I would agree. I would agree with you. And that's what's crazy is that it seems like everybody's coming to Idaho, and places like Sun Valley are much busier based upon people wanting to escape other areas. But anyway, that's another discussion, right, Duree? But hey, let's talk about things that are going on. Anything that's what are some of the changes since we talked about this? Spring break's been a little away. I mean, quite a ways away from where we are today. What are some of the things you've seen in the talent space that's been going on, Duree?
Good question. We're seeing a lot of health in the unemployment in general, and demand for IT really hasn't slowed down. We've seen a shift in the type of people. We're seeing move more tactical, as you can imagine, more project-based tactical demand on talent. We're seeing immediate need for security because of the dispersed workforces and the vulnerabilities in a lot of the networks.
Because now people are working from home and they're doing other places. They're more vulnerable because there's more access points that could potentially come in.
That's right. Yeah, and we're seeing an immediate need for a lot of cloud engineers and cloud specialists that we haven't seen as much before, so some shift in the demand. But essentially the demand really hasn't backed off for the IT talent. You know, when we think about the timing of all of this hitting the world, as well as how it affects Idaho, it's just what a lot of folks, I think, are interested in. We go back to March, our unemployment rate was 2.5 in Idaho, and of course sub 1 for IT, right? There was more jobs and there was talent. We went as high as 11.8 in April of unemployment, and we're back to 4.2 right now for unemployment. And in the IT space, it's been pretty flat. So it didn't really adjust too much.
Wow. I mean, that's crazy, that spike that took place, right? Where you have the 11%, and then you go all the way to the ability for it to be able to go from that down to about just under 5% and 4%. What else are you seeing? Are you seeing the demand for software development, other computing professional type jobs? What else are you seeing?
Yeah, we're still seeing a huge demand for that. I think the shift that's also happened is because of borderless talent, which, you know, Idaho had some companies that were really comfortable with meeting talent where it was and, you know, let them work remote. Some were a little less early adopters to that. And now that we're all in this huge science project and we're forced adoption to do remote working, we're seeing a lot of organizations come back into the Boise Treasure Valley market to really go hard after our talent. So a lot of our companies are having to really be innovative to keep their talent. Two of the main cities doing that, and our company, Experis, part of Manpower Group, has an extensive research arm. So we're seeing this stuff based on data and information, and we're seeing it. Of course, the Bay is coming in and trying to recruit our talent, as well as Seattle, because they can get, maybe a little less expensive for the talent than they would pay if they had to bring them into the Bay or Seattle.
Well, the one, it seems like it's been one thing is the in-migration of talent, but you're seeing companies like Facebook coming out and saying, hey, we're going to let people live where they want to live and they can work remotely, but we're going to pay them less because they might be working at a place other than Silicon Valley, where they might be living in Montana or in Idaho, where the cost of living is less. Is that disrupting the workforce very much, or is that still yet to be seen?
Yeah, no, it's disrupting the workforce. 63% of the global workforce is still remote. And I think the statistic that we just pulled was...
you said 63%? That's a big number.
The global workforce, yeah, is wow. Still remote. And you've got a handful, 20%, 30% of the Fortune 1000 having no end date to working remote. And some, like Microsoft, I think last week announced that they have no plans to return, unless, of course, you want to. So yeah, it's enabled, though, our local Treasure Valley businesses now have because it's borderless talent, and again, forced adoption in some cases.
Well, so what if that kind of brings up this whole idea? What will workers expect as they come out of COVID-19? Like, what are going to be some of the as we open up the economy? What are going to be some of the expectations of the workforce?
Flexibility. The demand is going to be flexibility. We've got some great thought leadership around what is the worker going to expect, and it's generationally driven. So boomers and millennials are different than even Gen X's and Gen Z's. So as an example, boomers and Gen X's have always enjoyed the work separation from home separation, but they are very clear that the 8 to 5 days a week, going back to an office is not something they want to do 100%. The millennials are more inclined to like what's happening right now because they're of the age group of having children. While it's challenging at home to have children because not all schools are open, majority are not, it's still something the millennials are embracing. It's really where the Gen Zs, which is 24 and younger, are really challenged right now, the new to career, because they build their colony and their communities, and they learn really rapidly in a work environment where there's a lot of collaboration. So we're seeing the shift in all kinds of ways of work, and there's predictions that if you think about how a lot of people communicate, including the, think of your kids, teenagers, right, young in college, they text, and then get together. So we're anticipating and seeing with a lot of the data that our company is doing, that that's really how return to work in the new next is probably going to be. Heads down work, things that can be done by yourself, whether it's coding, or spreadsheets, or those kinds of things, that doesn't need to be in a work environment. But getting together once a month as a team in some type of safe environment is probably going to be the more natural evolution will be with work. It's what we're seeing, hearing, and learning from a lot of our corporations worldwide.
Well, that's kind of interesting, and it's interesting how it hits different age groups, right? The millennial. I mean, you know what I mean? It's really, you're right, and the assimilation of data and information and learning is really. I mean, what's interesting to me is that one of the big things we were always talking about, like we did a survey about 3 years ago that talked about what are the most important skills that someone that came into the technology field would need. And this is something we did across the country, and Idaho had like 105 companies that responded to it. It was fantastic. And what it found is that a lot of the soft skills were the most important, right? Because, and that had to do with problem solving, collaboration, teamwork, right? So this whole dynamic of teamwork and collaboration now has changed because we operate now on a virtual basis where Zoom and other, WebEx and everything else is our new normal on this right now. So how is that impacting? Any idea about that, Duree? How's that impacting this collaboration, and which was supposed to be this richness you get together when you get in a conference room and you kind of come together, or you just sit in a pod close to somebody that you can talk to. We don't have that connectivity as much, right?
Right, and I think there'll always be challenges with that, but I also think if you find silver linings in it, so companies that have remote offices, satellite offices, maybe the people in those smaller offices were not included all the time, not always in every meeting, or not in every impromptu. They're now included in everyone, so they have a voice. Also, usually the person in the room that had the highest ranking title controlled the meeting. Now it is able to have a voice, a more equalized voice in a lot of the meetings. So it's, there's a lot of silver linings and capability. And plus there's a lot of collaboration tools online as well, whiteboarding and things that people can use and optimize.
Yeah.
It's growing.
What I'm amazed at how easy it is to share documents with one another now, right? I mean, Zoom. It was we've been laughing about that because probably you go back to February and we were using Zoom maybe 2-3 times a week at the most, and now we're using it 6 times a day. I mean, it's and you're utilizing the technology is wonderful. I mean, we're utilizing it right now. I'm sure Experis is one that not only does a lot of research but understands the technology is being adopted across the country too. So it's great to see this. One other.
Well, we're already seeing adjustments in how the behavior and protocol using video. Instead of doing 60-minute meetings, there's a lot of research out there that's coming out that says meetings should be no longer than 50 minutes or 20 minutes because you've got to have breaks. 90% of everybody we talk to, from the client to our candidates to our consultants to our own staff, I don't know what's actually happened. And this is worldwide. I mean, we have a lot of colleagues in other parts of the country because we're in 80 countries, and there are a lot of clients that have global footprints. They run from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting with no break, and that's not sustainable. So it's interesting to watch, even in this short time of 7 months of COVID, new behaviors coming out of how to optimize your day without burnout or
yeah. I understand that because I think what happens a lot of times, and probably a lot of the people that are doing this now do exactly what you're saying. They line up things and they can go, and the next thing you know, you didn't take a break. You didn't get up and you didn't walk around. Like at least you go out to the car and drive to your next meeting or walk down the street to it, right? You don't. You just you click. You use your mouse and say, "I'm going to go do something else now," right? It's
right.
Yeah, that's crazy. So it's interesting. So if you sat there and you were going to say, okay, I know this is kind of where all this is Duree Westover, the futurist right now. Okay.
Let me get the crystal ball.
Yeah, get the crystal ball out. What do you think is going to be the biggest drivers? Because let's say we're out about a year from now. COVID's been done. There's been a vaccine. We're kind of going. What do you think are going to be the big drivers for the employee right now? What's going to happen out there a year from now when the vaccines and we're back to what might be termed the new normal?
When you say drivers, you mean
like when you look at what are going to be the ones that are going to how will we expect a company to operate? How will like I'm not saying a company like Cradle Point, Simplot, Albertsons, I know they're all going to be different because they have different demands and stuff like that. But how do you think that business will be conducted and operated? And will we be a 50-50 virtual setting? Do you think?
Well, back to my comment about the different generations, and some of our research shows that of all U.S. workers do not want to go back to work. So I think it'll be a hybrid. I think it'll be more drop-in facilities where it's more hotel desk space where people come in to collaborate for something specific, something required to be together face to face, and then they probably scramble back to their home offices and are able to do the work that they can do remotely to have, the comprehensive work life integration. I think we're going to continue to see that in a lot of cases that can do that. Of course, you've got frontline type companies that
Yeah.
will not have the freedom to do that, or they're just not a business model to do that.
Gotcha. So I've got one would build on that. One of the areas that what have you seen? Obviously, travel's been significantly changed. What how do you think travel will change? People they used to jump on the plane and go to San Francisco or New York or Chicago or something like that. It seems like what kind of changes you see in travel, business travel?
Well, I hope it continues to be as sanitized as all the airlines and all the folks are stating that they've made their planes. I always scratch my head and say, why weren't we doing that in the first place, right?
Yeah.
I think it'll pick back up. I don't know. It'll take a long time to recover, but Americans in particular are very social creatures, and we are very adventurous people. So I anticipate, I have no crystal ball on that at some point we'll get back to travel and feel comfortable with that, taking
Yeah.
precautions.
It will bounce back once you're comfortable in traveling again, right? It
Yeah.
will come back. Yeah.
Well, it's remarkable. There's still quite a few people that still are traveling and
Yeah.
up and being careful, being safe, and part of their job is still hitting roads.
Last segment on the question for you is you've been in Boise for quite some time, moving here from, I believe, Arizona, if I remember right. So yeah, and so I'm sitting there and watching how long you've been here, and you've seen the talent shifts that have taken place. How do you think we're doing right now with growing talent and making it so that we're competing? Because as we're going to consider looking at this major hub and Idaho being more prominent in the technology equation, we have to have a really strong workforce, right? So how do you think we're doing right now in the workforce development area with respect to technology and innovation?
Well, I think BSU and some of the other colleges are doing a great job growing their computer science orgs and really producing high quality kids graduating out of the computer science and integrating, which is really important locally so that the kids stay here. Some of our camps and, where people are pivoting in their career and remaining constant learners, I think they're doing a really, really great job. And then, Jay, we haven't seen the type of exodus that's coming out of some of our western states into Idaho, like we have. It's always been busy, but the last probably 2 quarters, and a lot of it driven by COVID, because you can work at anywhere, borderless talent. We are seeing pedigrees of quality talent moving into this market. Just very, very encouraging and very, exciting. Some of the pedigrees on some of these folks coming from, other towns, Silicon Valley, Los Angeles, Seattle, moving into our market. It's really exciting to see the talent that's available.
Well, towards that, Duree, I was talking to some, Cradle Point, one of the management leaders at Cradle Point. They were talking about how the quality of the applicants that they're getting, where you would still get some really good applicants, but the quality of applicants that are now coming into positions are coming from all over and really high quality, and they're coming from a lot of Western states or other places where people want to move to a place like Boise. So that's this whole thing is. You're seeing the same thing in the level of so it's actually making it so we're drawing a lot of talent, but it's also we're getting a lot more competition for those positions here,
Mm-hmm.
the technology positions.
Yeah, dramatic change we've been seeing, and it's been coming, but in the last 2 quarters, it's been phenomenal.
Yeah. So, Well, okay, Duree, I said the quote, every artist was once an amateur. What do you think?
Well, it makes me think back on two things. Learn how to learn as we continue to be in our world and things change and pandemics come and there's a new way to do our work. Always be a constant learner and learn how to learn, because there's a report that came out from our research department, which is, I think, really interesting. Back to the BSU students, 65% jobs GZens will graduate have not even, they don't even exist today. 65%, right? I'm sure you've heard that stat before.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The other thing it makes me think of is the book, The Outliers, right? I don't know if you've ever read it, but 10,000 hours, right? Everybody, the Beatles, to Bill Gates, they didn't just become who they are. They did about 10,000 hours to get to their specialty before they were the greats, right?
Yeah. Well, I like that. I have to say that I was a Bee Gees fan before I was a Beatles fan, but be that as it may, you have to have this expertise, right? And you have to develop it. I really appreciate your time, Duree. This has been great. I think that we're going to continue to have you on as our resident, the Idaho expert on talent and the needs of the employees of our area. So really appreciate you taking time to be with us today. So thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's an honor. Appreciate it, Jay.
Yeah, thank you. Duree Westover with Experis, thank you for being with us. We're going to hear next week from Tim Garrigan with Garrigan Lyman Group, and we're going to talk about brand management and how companies should really look to build their brand, as well as Tim is a leader on our Hall of Fame, and the Hall of Fame is coming up October 27th. He's going to give us more detail about that, so join us next week. This is Jay Larson with the Idaho Technology Council. Keep you connected with industry and government, because in Idaho, innovation matters. Thanks and have a great day. As we adapt to changing times where organizations and government agencies are working remotely, it is increasingly important for us to stay connected with local tech companies like Cradlepoint, Truckstop.com, Experis, FlexTrax, Idaho Central Credit Union, as well as Mayor Debbie Kling and Mayor Rebecca Cashmer.
Isn't there a direct correlation usually with the goods transported across the country and the health of the economy and possibly going into a recession or something like that? Is there a direct correlation there?
What's cool on the technology side, people are having to, like the webinar usage, you talk about the bandwidth that just skyrocketed.
Discuss what Idaho's economy and government leaders are doing to ensure Idaho's economy weathers the storm.
Idahoans also have a culture of taking care of each other. We have a culture that includes doing things intelligently and the right way. And I think that's part of what's going to see us through.
So I should not just limit it to the United States, to the world. That is fantastic.
Yeah, I don't want you to sell us short, Jay. Come on.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks. This is Jay Larson with the Idaho Technology Council, keeping you connected with industry and government, because in Idaho, innovation matters. Innovation matters. Innovation matters. Thank you all, and be safe out there.